northeastern corner just here. The surrounding area includes a series of residential properties to the northern side of Clacton Road, with more sporadic development along the southern side. Approximately 100 metres to the west is a car park, and the main hub of Elmsted Market is approximately 400 metres to the northwest. So I'll just run through. Oh yeah, this is the Google image, so it just shows you a sort of wider site, and you can see the main hub of Elmsted just here. So I'll just run through some site photos. So this one is facing south towards the site access. This one's facing west towards the existing building. This one's facing west again towards the existing building. And again facing northwest, this time towards the existing building. So just to briefly run through the history, in September 2022, the building was granted prior approval consent to convert into one dwelling. This dwelling was to serve 3 bedrooms and have a footprint of 124 square metres. So what I'm going to do now is just run through the existing slides, the previously approved elevations, and then what we're looking at tonight. So these are the existing elevations which you would have seen on your site visit this morning. And this is the existing floor layout plan just here. So the previously approved dwelling is not too dissimilar to the existing. And there again is the floor layout plan. So again, 2 bedrooms and 124 square metres floor space. This is what's being proposed. So in terms of the elevations, it's again a single storey property, 1 dwelling still. It's going to be reduced to 2 bedrooms, and the floor space will decrease slightly to 115 square metres. This is the proposed floor layout plan. So you can see it's a sort of like L-shape style dwelling. And probably the most important slide is just showing where the previously approved block plan versus what we're looking at tonight. So that's the dwelling there, and the 2 parking spaces just adjacent to the east. And this slide probably the most important. So you can see the L-shaped design, and in the sort of dashed lines here, you can see the building that was subject to the previous application, and what in effect will be demolished and replaced as part of this application. You can see 2 parking spaces to the front here, and the amenity space there. So in terms of the principal development, I appreciate you've had quite a few of these type of applications before, so I don't want to repeat too much on what's been said, but the site does fall outside, it's adjacent to, but it does fall outside of a recognised settlement boundary, and therefore would typically be contrary to planning policy. However, on this occasion, given the history of the site with the prior approval, the principle of 1 dwelling on this site has been established, and this proposal essentially represents a replacement dwelling, and this does form a material consideration in the determination of the application. So the proposal will result in the introduction of 1 detached dwelling. It's broadly, as you can see on this, is going to be broadly in the same location as that previously approved. As I said before, the floor space is now 115 square metres. It was 124, so it's a slight decrease of 9 square metres. The distance from the building to the highway is approximately 50 metres, and this will help to obscure the view of the development from Clacton Road. And the new dwelling will also be viewed within the context of the immediate surrounding residential development to the north and the northeast. The design of the dwelling, if I just go back to that, the design of the dwelling will see a detached property of a rural nature that is not dissimilar to the existing structure, albeit with the alteration to an L-shaped design. In addition, the use of a mix of materials, including black boarding, red brick plinth, and pan tiles, add to the overall acceptable design within this location. A key difference to note between the previously approved scheme and that now being proposed is that the ridge height has slightly increased from 2.8 metres to 3.9 metres, so a 1.1 metre increase. However, given that the eaves height remains the same, the dwelling still retains its single-storey nature, and it is set well back within the site amongst other built form. Officers do not consider that this increase in height is significantly harmful to the character of the area. The proposed dwelling is sited at a significant distance from the nearby neighbouring properties to the north and to the northeast, and will not result in any loss of sunlight or daylight. The separation distances from these properties and the single-storey design also means no privacy or overlooking issues will occur. Essex Highways Authority have raised no objections, subject to conditions that are included within the recommendation, and the submitted plans also demonstrate provision for the necessary 2 parking spaces is made. The council's tree and landscape officer has also been consulted and has confirmed the development will have no harmful impacts to any trees on or adjacent to the site. So in conclusion, the proposed demolition of an existing agricultural building and its replacement with a dwelling is acceptable in principle following the planning history that I've outlined. The position of the dwelling is very similar to the existing agricultural building, albeit with a revised L-shaped design, while the level of floor space will see a slight decrease. The dwelling will result in an increase in height in comparison to the existing building. However, officers do not consider this as significantly harmful. There are no significant issues in respect to neighbouring amenities or harm to trees, and Essex Highways Authority have not objected. So therefore, the application is considered to be policy compliant and is recommended for approval. I also just wanted to draw your attention to the update sheet as well. There's been a slight tweak to the wording of condition 7. You'll see on that I've just removed 2 points. The first point was an error on my part. Basically, it's dealt with at building regs, and it's not an enforceable part of the condition, so that's why that's been removed. And the electric car charging point part has already been submitted with the application, so that's the only alterations to that that's in the agenda. So yeah, again, the application is recommended for approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And this is one occasion where we do have the agent, Miss Molly Foley. If she'd like to come forward to this microphone, and when you've got yourself settled and the microphone live, you've got 3 minutes once you're settled. Lovely.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors. A lot of my points are very similar to those that Michael makes in his presentation, but I'll just reiterate some of those. I'm sure you're familiar with the significant weight of the fallback position afforded to the council when granting the planning permission to convert the existing poultry building into a dwelling last September. This approved scheme is for the conversion of the building into a 3-bedroom dwelling with 124 square metre floor area. The proposal before the committee tonight is for a replacement dwelling with just 2 bedrooms, totalling at 115 square metres in floor area. So as mentioned, a 9 square metre reduction. The design shows simple elevations in material sensitive to that of the rural area with black weatherboarding above a brick plinth. No trees or vegetation are to be affected or removed as part of the proposal. This dwelling would be constructed and occupied by the applicants themselves, who have a long-standing history of living in Elmstead. The council are recommending approval on the basis that the scheme before you is not materially different to that already approved at the site. Finally, as I'm sure the members saw at the visit today, there is currently 62 dwellings under construction directly adjoining the application site, as it was deemed by the government inspector that this location is highly sustainable with direct access on foot to the village's services and facilities. This situation applies equally to our site. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And no other speakers, parish or ward, according to my list. So committee members, now's your time to ask any outstanding questions that you might have, and we'll start with Councillor Harris and then take Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one question really, which is can you just confirm that there are still no comments from the parish council and there have been no letters of complaint or against this application from any member of the public, please?
Yep, in short, there's been no additional comments received since the agenda was published.
No further questions. Thank you.
Baker?
Thank you, Chairman. I may have missed it, I don't know, but with regard to the amendment in condition 7, taking out the electric car charging point, I think you mentioned it was already enclosed with the application, so could you just explain that a bit further? And also I know that there's no condition in there regarding PDR being removed. Can you just comment on that as well, please?
Councillor Baker has raised the very same point that I was going to while Mr. Bingham was searching. Yes, I thought that we got an agreement virtually in the new local plan that every new building would now be provided with such things. So you're going to comment on that. That's splendid. I didn't find heating. Perhaps I missed it. So when we get to that, the first question is, why is electric car charging taken out? And then what is the form of heating? Thank you.
Yeah, to answer the first point, so the electric charging, so a document has been submitted with the submission of the application outlining more like full details of how that will be installed. I haven't got the full details to hand, but it is recommended in condition 2 as part of the approved plans. So therefore, it's just not necessary to have it as part of condition 7. That's ultimately what that is. Sorry, Councillor White, the question about heating, I didn't quite hear what you...
What is the question of how do these properties heated? How are they heated? Have we got air heating or solar, or what is the approved method? It's probably in here and I've missed it. If I have, I'll apologise.
I think those specific points are really going to be covered within the details within condition 7. So that will be that will need to be discharged via a future planning application. So it's not something for tonight necessarily, but it will be covered within that condition.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to respond to Councillor Baker's question about the removal of permitted development rights. The council does have the power through condition to remove the normal permitted development rights, but typically that tends to be reserved for quite exceptional circumstances. So the most common examples I could find is if developments are particularly constrained, if they have particularly small gardens, for example, where even an extension that would be permitted under permitted development right could have a significant impact on neighbours. Under those kind of conditions, the council has in the past exercised its power to remove those permitted development rights. I don't think those circumstances apply here, and when considering whether or not to exercise that power, we've got to think, well, would we restrict other similar dwellings in the countryside for the same reasons? It's not recommended in the report to impose that condition. It's certainly not something that officers are advising, but I hope that provides a bit of background as to when and when not it's appropriate to use that power.
Other questions? Yes, Councillor Wiggins.
In condition 7, it says agreement of heating of each dwelling and building. Does that include solar panels, or should solar panels be a separate line as a condition?
Yeah, so basically all of the details of the sort of renewable energy package that they might want to put forward will come out in when that application for the discharge of that condition is provided. I don't believe there's solar panels on. I'll just check the elevation. Yes, there's not at the moment, but it's whether that would form part of their package to meet the renewable energy criteria.
No further questions? Any general debate on the subject, or is anybody ready to do any proposing? Right, yes, Councillor Baker.
Chairman, I don't think there's much debate to be had, to be quite truthful. We have faced these applications on a number of occasions now, this year and last year, and I actually like the design. I think it's good. The fact it's slightly smaller than what's already approved is good as well. It's gone down from 3 to 2 bed. I can't see any problem with it. I'm quite happy to propose approval with the amended condition 7 as on our update sheet. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. But I'm more than happy to second this. Again, I follow my colleague on this. My main concerns if I was going to ask questions, would have been around drainage, but because it falls within our local planning policies, that there is no access to that means then a private package, matter package will be accepted. And I think that's it. That's all we can debate on it.
Yes, Councillor Harris, before we take a vote, we'll have a discussion.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out really that as my colleague said, we have seen a number of these, and it is just nice to see an application where the building is actually on the footprint of the original building. That's the only point I would like to make. It makes the decision a lot easier. Thank you.
In which case, so far it appears to be quite clear there's nobody voting against it. I've got a proposer for acceptance and a seconder for that. I think, well, unless anybody else wishes to speak, we'll take a vote on it, and I think we can do this on a show of hands. So it's the recommendation is to approve, subject to the conditions that are on and the informatives that are on pages 61 to 64 and the amended update sheet that we have this evening. So now you know what you're voting for. Those in favour, please show. And that is unanimous, therefore it is approved. Thank you very much. You were right, Councillor Baker, that we've had, and Councillor Alexander, we've had a number of applications on this question of queue. You might be pleased or otherwise to know that there's been so many objections in the House of Commons on this subject that the government is seriously looking at rewording that paragraph. Right. In that case, we can move on to Mill Lane Council Yard, Mill Lane at Walton on Naze, where again we went this morning, and so just ask, I think Mr. Pingram's got this one as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yep, so this application relates to land sited to Mill Lane Council Yard, which is located to the western side of Mill Lane within Walton on the Naze. It seeks planning permission for the replacement gates and installation of railings on top of the existing brick wall along the front boundary. It's worth noting the reason that it's before planning committee is because Tendring District Council are the applicant. The supporting information provided highlights that the works form part of a wider renovation of the yard in order for it to be used as a storage depot for wheelie bins and recycling boxes following the closure of the wheelie offices site. So just to have a look at the site area, it's currently an open area of land for storage or the parking of vehicles, with single-storey buildings located to the rear and side of the site. The wider character, as you can see on this slide here, is urban in nature, with residential and commercial built form to all sides. You have the Mill Lane car park sited just to the north here, and the main hub of the Walton Town Centre to the south. So this is a site photo looking northwest. You can see the gate subject to this application and also the wall just there. Again, this is it from a different angle, just facing front towards the site. This is me just peering over the gates just so you can see the other side of it. And just sort of running through the elevations. So these are the existing elevations. You can see it's a total of 2 meters in height. And this is what's being proposed in place. The block plan here shows just along there the extent of the works. I think this one here probably best shows what's been proposed. So just in terms of the assessment, the site is located within a priority area for regeneration for Walton. I appreciate the works are very minor and really just seeking to replace existing gates and adding additional to the wall, but it does represent a minor improvement to the regeneration of the area, so it's supported in principle. The works are sited along the front boundary, adjacent to Mill Lane, and therefore highly visible. However, given the minor increase from 2 metres in height to 2.4 metres, and just the overall tidying up of the existing site, it's considered to be a sort of slight enhancement to the existing design, and therefore no harm to the character of the area. There are neighbouring properties located in close proximity, but given the minor nature of the works, there's going to be a sort of neutral impact to existing amenities. The site is located within flood zone 3. However, the development will just see replacement gates and additional railings. The site itself is within what's known as a less vulnerable use in flood terms, and therefore there'll be a neutral impact overall to flooding related issues. So in conclusion, the application proposes replacement gates, additional railings as part of wider renovation works. These works will have a slight visual enhancement, which in turn provides a minor boost to the regeneration of the area. The increase in height has no harm to the neighbouring amenities. So therefore the application is policy compliant and is recommended for approval. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Now we have with us tonight the Assistant Director of Buildings, Andy. I don't know whether you wish to speak. If there's anything you can add, which would be of help to us, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening, councillors. The application, as Mr. Pingram's rightly said, is for a pair of gates and some railings, but I'd just like to put that in the context of us refurbishing and bringing back into the use a yard that's been in a little bit of a state for many years. Work is already underway on some aspects of the project that did not require planning permission. This part of it is to improve the security of the site and make it workable, and to stop intrusion, which would be a nuisance to neighbours. So all in all, it's part of a big refurbishment of the area, a significant improvement that I'm sure is already visible in terms of what's going on the site. And I sincerely hope that we get granted planning permission this evening.
Very much. Now, no other speakers again on this one, so it's questions to the officer. Yes, Councillor Guglielmi.
It's not really a question, it's just that seeing that what's going to go in place as an improvement, but they looked absolutely dreadful, and we could actually see the steel structures behind the green things, which were obviously going to be a very vast improvement on what's there. So no, I recommend it for approval.
Unless anybody else wishes to add comments, I've got a proposer and a seconder already. I don't want to delay. Nobody wishes to, in which case, with a proposer and a seconder, the conditions are as on page 68, and also any conditions are on 71 to 72, so you know what you're voting for. Those in favour, please show. Again, that is approved and it is unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. This application is a retrospective application for the erection of a fence. It requires planning permission as it measures over 1 metre in height and is adjacent to the highway. And it's worth noting that the application is before Planning Committee as Tendring District Council own the land. So here we can see the site location plan. It's located to the south of Madeira Road and it falls within the settlement development boundary of Clacton-on-Sea. It's currently used as an outdoor bowls club. And here's a satellite image of the site. The fence is erected along the northern boundary here along Madeira Road. There's an existing fence along this boundary here adjacent to the car park. And then we have the seaside down towards the south. So here's a view of what the site looked like before the fence was erected. We've noted that there was a conifer hedge along this boundary. However, the removal of this hedge doesn't require any sort of consent or planning permission. It's therefore lawful and isn't a material consideration of this application. So here's a site view of the fence along Madeira Road now. The fence measures roughly 53 metres along this boundary and is 2.3 metres high. It has timber panels with a trellis section on the top over a concrete gravel and concrete posts. And here's the existing fence along the car park there. And this is the fence in the application. And here's a view from inside the Bowls Club. So officers believe that the fence is of a good quality design and will result in minor changes to the visual characteristics of the area, and it has no significant harmful impacts on the visual amenities. The fence is also located in adequate enough distance from the neighbouring sites to have no harmful impacts on the loss of light, and we have received 3 letters of support from the neighbouring residents. So in conclusion, the fence is considered to be of an acceptable design and appearance with no harmful effects on neighbouring amenities and is therefore recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure quite by coincidence, but we have a speaker on this one, Mrs. Carol Cooper, who is a trustee. Welcome to the microphone, Mr. Cooper. And so that's it, you're live, and so you have 3 minutes to tell us about this.
The replacement of the hedge became a priority when we discovered the hedge was absorbing all the moisture and water from the bowls green. Now, as a bowling club, our bowls green is our main asset, and a great percentage of our funds goes towards maintaining it and buying and purchasing the nutrients that keep it going, and our membership. In addition, several parts of the hedge were dying and allowed visual access to the green, which could become a security risk. Some years ago, we were broken into, and we do know of other clubs who suffered vandalism, which we hope to avoid. We were fortunate in obtaining a grant from the National Lottery in the sum of £5,500 to remedy this. Before researching into replacing the existing hedge, we consulted with all the neighbours who lived opposite the green to ask their approval or disapproval, and they all agreed. Landlord's approval was sought from Tendring District Council, and we were told that as long as the fence was the same height as the existing hedge, all would be well. Landlord's approval was given in August 2022, providing the work was not carried out until September 2022 and complying with the other various conditions attached. We were unaware at that time that due to the fact that the hedge was being replaced by a hard wooden fence, we would need planning consent. However, once we became aware of that, we effected the process as quickly as possible. Several neighbours opposite the green wrote to the council saying that the fence was a vast improvement for several reasons, one being aesthetically and another the pavement was much now easier to walk along. The lease for our bowling club states that Tendring District Council are responsible for cutting the pavement side of the hedge, but to my knowledge this has only happened once in the last 3 years. Our members are mainly over retirement age and voluntarily maintain the club and the green. This was just another onerous task that they had to do. I hope you will see the benefit that the new fence brings to the club and the local inhabitants and grant this planning permission. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm not sure that this is right, but a member of the public speaking against the application is our friend Councillor Baker, but I'm sure he will explain, and he's doing it not as the ward councillor getting 5 minutes, but we only give him 3. Right, Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chairman. And just like to reiterate, I am speaking as a member of the public and a resident of Holland-on-Sea. I just want to point out a few things. The officer has stated that it results in a minor change. It's a shame that you haven't actually seen what was there before. 53 metres of hedging. So it's not a minor change, it's a vast change. I'm disappointed that you haven't seen that. I think if this application had come before you when the hedge was there, you may be minded to refuse. However, you're faced with a fait accompli. It isn't there, it's gone, there is a fence. And the reason it's come before you is not only because it's a TDC owned property, but also most fences that abut the highway are only allowed to be a metre. It's a shame, as I said, that you didn't see the hedge, because you would have seen that, as Carol has rightly said, it was poor in places, but there's no mitigation now for removal of a 53 metre hedge. There's nothing in the conditions. There's nothing you can put in place to mitigate the loss of what was a wildlife habitat, albeit sparse in places, but it was a wildlife habitat. So I just wanted to make those points, and I don't need 3 minutes. Like I say, you're faced with a fait accompli. You will have to give it permission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, councillors, questions? Anybody got any questions? Yes. I think I will take Councillor Placey and then Councillor Gouliam. No.
Yeah, just the height of the hedge, was that actually the same, the 1.4?
I'm unaware of the height of the hedge, but the height of the fence is 2.3.
Right, Councillor Fowler.
Thank you, Chairman. Our speaker from the public, Mr. Baker, Councillor Baker, is absolutely right. It is a fait accompli, really. We can't do anything now because the hedge is gone. But I do congratulate the Bowls Club for the £5,000 Heritage Lottery Fund grant that they managed to obtain, because that is not easy. I'm well aware of how difficult that is to do. So well done to you for that. And I have to say, given the circumstances, when we looked at that fencing today, isn't it lovely? It looks very nice. I'm not surprised you haven't had any objections from the neighbours. So I'm certainly in favour of, when we get to it, the proposal, and I'm happy to propose approval for the fence. Thank you, Chairman.
Right. Councillor Harris, I think, next, and then Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Chairman. I think in the previous application, the fence that we just sat here and authorised was 2.4 metres high, and it was on a roadway. So I really don't see there being a height issue here. Yeah, there is a loss of, the only people that, well, the only things that are going to be upset with the loss of this is probably a few sparrows and a few finches, which it is a shame for them. But with any application, it's harm versus benefit. And there is an amount of harm. The hedge is gone, understand that. But the benefits in doing and fitting this really good looking fence, could have been a horrible fence, but it's a really good looking fence. I think the benefits far outweigh the harm that's been done to it. I'd be very happy to second this proposal, and I'll be voting in favour of it. Thank you.
Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Chairman. I have to say that I was a little perturbed when the loss of habitation, nesting habitation to a few sparrows, or protecting our habitation for these guys is vital, and it's a part of what we do as an authority to ensure that we will always go out of our way to secure that. I'd just like to point that out. I didn't see the fence in its original state, I have to be honest. And I've been taught by our monitoring officer that we have to look on everything on its own merit. And that's what I'm looking at here today. What I saw when we went there was a large fence, correct, it was higher than normally prescribed. However, the top part of it was latticed and you could freely see through it. And the whole appearance of it was aesthetic and pleasing to the eye. Had I been in a position to live on the other side of the road of that, I too would have never have seen an objection to such a thing. And as a passing shot, I pride myself on grass and growing, and I'm really jealous of that grass. Was magnificent. That was magnificent. I'm prepared to second it if the Vice Chair wants to proceed.
Thank you, Councillor Alexander. I think I've got a proposer and a seconder, but I'm sure the knowledge that you're voting will support everybody. Anybody else wish to make any comment? No, no. Right, in that case, we will vote on this one as well. So again, by hands. Those in favour, please show. That is unanimous of those in favour. That application is granted.
Chairman, it would just be nice to know what they do to their grass, because their grass was amazing.
I think a lot of us involved in various organisations would like to know how they managed it. So, good. That completes our work this evening. So can I thank the officers for the help that we've had during the year, and that applies all the way around. And the officers' department is very short tonight, but nevertheless, I'm sure they will convey our thoughts. And Councillor Harris, yes?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to you for chairing this committee for the last 4 years. This is the last meeting that we had collectively as a group before the next election. And I'd like to thank all the officers for all their help throughout the 4 years. I apologise if I've kept these meetings going on too long with far too many questions, and I've got a sore side here. I keep getting elbows in the ribs here from Councillor Guglielmi, but I've learned a lot over these last 4 years, and it's been a pleasure to serve here, and I thank everyone involved. Thank you.